Hi there. So I've already covered a lot of videos regarding data collection rules, how to set up and use it to monitor our resources. Also, I posted a video regarding how to troubleshoot when data collection rule doesn't work properly. And in this video, I'll show you the full troubleshooting process step by step. That is, we are going into depth all the way to deep network validation and TLS troubleshooting. By the end of this video, any issues you face for the logs not showing in the workspace will be fixed. We'll be investigating missing heartbeat, logs not ingesting, Azure Monitor Agent extension issues, DCR validation, network testing, endpoint connectivity, TLS handshake failures, and agent recovery. And the most important part, I'll show you how to think during troubleshooting because the entire monitoring pipeline contains a lot of different steps and we can get lost easily. So now before starting, I'll head over to the Azure portal and show you what I already have. So we'll start with the virtual machine with the name Windows VM and it already has the agent installed. So if you expand this and then go to extension, we'll see Azure Monitor Agent installed, right? Provisioning succeeded status. And Azure Monitor Agent is the one which checks the data collection rule attached to it and then gets the data and send it to the workspace. So next we'll go to the data collection rule. So I already have one created that collects the performance counters. So if you go to data sources, we'll see performance counters and event logs, which I've already configured for ingestion from the Windows machine. And resources, we'll see our virtual machine, right? So this all is configured and next we'll go to the workspace. That is where we are sending our data to. So if we go to performance counters, we'll see the destination being the workspace. So if we click on this, this is the service where all our data gets stored and where our KQL queries will run. And also we can set up alerts on it, right? So all our pipeline is configured properly. And now to check if the heartbeat is showing properly, we'll go to logs, then KQL mode, and then heartbeat. So we can see our Windows virtual machine here, right? And it's reporting every 1 minute to this workspace. So it's working properly. And if we search for the event logs, we'll see our data because that is what we are collecting from the data collection rule. And also if we search for performance counters, that is CPU disk memory, we can check from here. That is in the perf table. So you can see our Windows virtual machine and the data. So this is all we are collecting from the virtual machine. Now you've seen that our virtual machine is able to send the data from the agent and all the components, that is the agent, data collection rule, and the workspace is working properly. And now let's imagine that suddenly heartbeat stopped appearing and the logs stopped ingesting and also the Azure portal wasn't showing any obvious issues. So now how you will troubleshoot it. So if I create a scenario wherein we are not seeing any logs and run the query, so we are not seeing anything. And now let's start how we'll approach the troubleshooting. Now the issue can be in any component. That is, it can be from the data collection rule, Azure Monitor Agent, or a workspace, networking, firewall, TLS or a DNS or Azure site communication. There are a lot of components that are involved. Most of the times the issue will be with the DCR, Azure Monitor Agent or the workspace. And if you have a strict firewall configurations and if the connections is blocking to the workspace from the DCR or the virtual machine, the connection could break. So let's get started with how we'll approach this. So in the phase one, we'll do the configuration and scope validation. In this, we'll check the basic configuration. So we'll check that the extension state in the virtual machine is in succeeded state. For that, we'll go to the virtual machine and then go to extension. And in the extension, in the status, we should see the provisioning succeeded. In this case, it's good, but sometimes it can show you the status of the transitioning, and in that particular time, you would have to uninstall the extension and then reinstall it again. So you have to verify the status succeeded and showing no failed state, no transitioning, no unhealthy extension status, right? Now the next step to verify, we'll go to the data collection rule, and in the data collection rule, we'll quickly check that our VM for which we are checking is correctly attached to the data collection rule. In our case, we have the machine attached, right? And also then we'll check the correct data sources. That would be what kind of logs or performance counters what we are trying to get from the virtual machine. So in this case, this is also configured properly. You can see performance counters and the Windows event logs configured, and the destination where we are checking the heartbeat should be also attached to this data source for both of them. In this case, workspace is attached, which matches with this one, and then we'll go back and check for this one also. So in this case, that is also attached and our DCR configuration is correct. Now all the virtual machines which are added to this data collection rule will have this performance counters and Windows event logs being collected. Now we have checked the agent status and data collection rule. And now the next step is to check that whatever machines that is attached to this particular data collection rule are reporting properly or not. Is it that all the virtual machines that is attached to the data collection rule doesn't show the heartbeat in the workspace? Or is it the only one virtual machine is affected, right? If it's for a multiple virtual machine, that means this is probably because of the network getting blocked. So now the step 4 will check the network connectivity test. And for this, we'll use some commands that will test that our workspace is able to get reached publicly or is it getting blocked. For this testing, I'll go to portal, and in the portal, I'll use the Cloud Shell and I'll clear this one, paste. Now what you'll have to do is go to your workspace, right? And in the workspace under properties, so you can see our workspace ID. I'll copy this one and then go back to here and then paste here. Now what this command will do is that it will check that this endpoint is able to connect on the port 443 publicly, and the good solution will be to check from the virtual machine from where it is not able to send the logs, because that will tell us that if it's able to reach to the destination, the workspace. So for that, I'll go to the virtual machine and then copy the public IP and paste the public IP and then connect. Meanwhile, I'm logging in. I'll copy the command. So I'll open the PowerShell and paste our query. The benefit we get is we are directly checking from the virtual machine which is affected if it can reach to the workspace. And you can see this test connection is true and the source IP is from my virtual machine. And next step is to check another command that it's able to reach the global handler monitoring endpoint of Azure. I'll show you how we can enable it if it's blocked. So you can see this is also true, right? Now sometimes what happens is that there's a strict firewall restrictions and we may have to enable this solution. For that we'll go to the virtual machine. In the virtual machine we have a NIC, and in the NIC we have NSG. We'll go up to settings and outbound rules. We'll add a rule and we'll leave as it is. In the destination, we'll go to service tag and then tag will be our monitor. And what will happen with this when we'll enable this? If any request that originate from the virtual machine needs to go to the Azure monitor, the NSG will automatically route that to the destination instead of checking the firewall. So this is how we can enable the monitoring part. And also this checks only the TCP connectivity, it does not validate HTTPS communication or TLS negotiation. So the next step will perform the curl validation. For the curl validation, we'll use the commands to check if it's actually doing the communication. So you can see the healthy connection to the host global monitor azure.com was left intact. So there were no issues. It was able to resolve to the public IP and it was trying and server accepted and all of those details, and you can see that it's healthy, right? Eventually we have to check the monitoring because when the agent is sending the data, needs to have the connectivity to the global handler. That is basically where all the data goes from. Now the next step will check the workspace connection if it's able to resolve and the connection is working properly, and then run it. And for this one also you can see the connection to the host left intact, right? And if I go up, you'll see the details like it established the connection to the workspace and there were no issues. So this test is much deeper. It validates HTTPS communication, SSL certificates and TLS handshake, right? And this is where the issue finally becomes visible whenever there's an issue from the network side. I learned it a hard way. I had multiple virtual machines and that were not reporting to the workspace, and I have to troubleshoot a lot to figure this out. And if you see any issues here, the TLS connection was being reset during handshake. That means TCP connectivity existed, but secure HTTPS communication are failing and your logs won't show. Now let's imagine we had a TLS failure and it can happen due to firewall inspection, SSL inspection, the network virtual appliances, that is firewall or security policies, right? So there are a lot of mediators because of which the issue could be. Azure Monitor Agent requires successful TLS communication with Azure ingestion endpoints that we just saw. And these are important endpoints that it needs connectivity to. And if you follow all these steps, you will find mostly the issue is with one of the component being showed here, and you'll be able to resolve the issue successfully. So whenever the issue is with the network, you would have to get in touch with the network team and get check the firewall. And if this video helped you, make sure to like, subscribe, and comment what Azure issue you want me to troubleshoot next. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.